September the 11th, 2023. The invocation will be given by Mount Olive Church of God Pastor James Sears. The Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Commissioner Scott Gilbert. Please stand.
Let's pray together. Father, today I stand before those in whom you have, by the confidence of the people of Bradley County, placed in the seat and position of authority to lead and guide our community. Lord, I thank you for their service, their willingness, and their desire to serve in a day to which many would shy away from the pressures that come with such said position. As a leader in this community myself, I pray the same prayer for them that I pray over me, and that is that, Lord, we ask you to give us wisdom to make decisions that better our community, but in doing so, that we find the courage to make the decisions that are pleasing to you as well. Thus, may everything that we say and do not be spoken out of selfish desires or from outside influences, but may they be said and done out of the goodness of our hearts, and only after we've spent time in prayer seeking your will. God, while we're gathered here in this place today to discuss topics that surround the area in which we live, we're also reminded that we are a part of a greater nation called the United States of America. And on this day, we're reminded of others who have made great sacrifices both near and abroad. On this 9/11, 22 years later, Father, after a sacrifice was made by many men and women who gave up their life to save others, God, we not only remember them, but we pray for their families as well, as, Lord, they continue to deal with the hurt, the pain, and the loss of their loved ones. God, may we never take for granted, may we never forget the blessings in which you have bestowed upon us as a county, as a commission, and as a country. And we pray, may God still bless America. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We would like to also welcome Senator Adam Lowe, who's state senator, who's here. And the next thing is a report from the county mayor. Your nickel, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that prayer, Pastor. I'm sure everyone does remember 22 years ago today was a big day, a day that most of us will remember forever. A lot of things going on in our community today as a remembrance, especially honoring our emergency services, and we really appreciate that. First thing is a report on Dooley Street. Dooley Street is finally finished. You don't have to ask about it anymore. It's finally done. You know, we did that remodel project in 3 phases. Outside, new roof, new gutters, new paint, new siding. Inside, we did it in 2 phases, and the end result is all new flooring, walls, cabinets, appliances, paint. Charlotte Peak did the interior part of it, and I actually did several things that weren't even in the criteria to be done, so we appreciate that. But anyway, it is finally finished and completed. You have a resolution in front of you that I passed out that's an amendment to a previous, we did a contract with Community Services Agency for ARP money, and they had until December of this year to finish that project. And of course, they've been behind on it for a while. It is starting to move. They think they will be, the development district said they thought they would be finished in the spring, but they asked for us to do an extension through June the 30th just in case. And so I asked someone to please put that on the agenda for next week to approve the extension.
Commissioner Winters will sponsor it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Baylor Williamson, you are here, aren't you? Okay, I hadn't met her. I just talked to her on the phone and so forth. She's here today. She's the outreach manager for Tennessee Achieves, and she wants to give you all an update on you can come on up to the podium, Baylor. As you all know, Tennessee Achieves, she'll probably talk about the numbers, but a lot of money has been invested in scholarships for people in our community throughout the state. I got to mention something she won't say, though. We had Bradley Achieves before there was Tennessee Achieves. And I always brag about that and say that I think Tennessee Achieves sort of copied what we were already doing here in Bradley County, and something that we were proud of. But I'm glad you're doing it statewide. Baylor?
Yes, we're for sure excited that we can help students alongside y'all to get them the money that they need. I am from Tennessee Achieves, and we are the partnering organization for the Tennessee Promise Scholarship. And so we work with students in trying to receive their associate's degrees as well as a technical degree and provide last dollar support and mentor guidance. So I'm here to give y'all an update on the college going rate and some things that we're doing to increase that rate. Before the pandemic, we were at 62% of all high school seniors attending college right out of high school graduation. And since then, that has dropped about 10%, and we are sitting at 52% for the 2021 school year. And so we are getting our resources together to help get that up. Last year, the state gave us $6 million to launch 2 new programs. It is called Complete Coaching and Complete Grants, and we do a lot of work with students here in Bradley County. So every student that is eligible for the Pell Grant based on their FAFSA is paired with a coach on our staff, and that coach helps to proactively work with them, give them guidance, give them resources, goes to campus, meets them, really does a lot of hands-on work with them. And we work with 140 students in this county. And then we also offer emergency grant fundings called Complete Grants. And so these grants are for non-tuition related costs that could serve as a barrier to college graduation. So grocery cards for our food insecure students, gas cards to actually get to campus, textbooks, rent money sometimes, really anything that could prevent them from graduating and actually completing their degree. And so we distributed $50,000 this past year to students in this county, and it rounded out to be 440 grants individually, and 85 students received them. So each student has access to $1,000 per semester. They don't always use it all, but they have access for that, for anything that could come up. And so we are really excited. We've actually seen some improvement in the college going rate here in Bradley County. It is up to 55.9% this past year. And so we are currently recruiting mentors for the 2024 senior class. And mentors work with students to help get them from high school to college and where we can start providing those services. We have a lot of stuff to offer, but they have to be enrolled in an associate's degree program or a technical degree program in order to access them. That's it. Thank you so much.
Does anyone have any questions before she leaves? If not, thank you for that report. We appreciate it. No excuse for anyone graduating high school not to be able to go on to college with all the scholarships that are out there available now, and a lot of money has been put toward that. Next, the opioid fund requests. To remind you all, we have $171,086 remaining in the opioid funds that's to be dispersed by this commission. Keep in mind, funds must be used for abatement, remediation, and or prevention of opioids in our community. We have 5 organizations that are here today that are requesting these funds. They're here to explain how they propose to spend them. We've asked them to keep it to 5 minutes each, and then you'll have time for questions afterwards so that we don't prolong the meeting too long. This is only an introduction to what they're asking for and what they're going to be doing. We've asked that they not do any handouts today, but we will be passing on their information to you this afternoon, and you can move at your own pace then as when do you approve it and who you approve. Keep in mind, $171,000, that's a small amount. Senator here is with us, as was mentioned. The state has a very large bucket of opioid money, and so we've encouraged all of these organizations and others to be applying for those grants. The deadline's coming up soon, so there is a large bucket of state opioid money, but some of it did come to Bradley County. We've already budgeted to spend a big portion of it, with $171,000 left then for you all to decide. You want to divide it up evenly between 5, you want to give it all to one, or you want to pick 4. It'll be totally up to how you want to do it. So having said that, 5 minutes each approximately. First up is Boys and Girls Club, Denise DeBusk.
First, can we have Commissioner Blake? I
Mayor.
overlooked him earlier.
Before we do that, if we go back to the amended resolution real quick. On this here, it says, and you just alluded to it, the agreement ends on June 30th, 2024. County will have no obligation. The first question is, this is a joint effort with the city. Do they have the same criteria?
Yes, they're asking to do an extension. I assume they did a contract like we did. We did a contract on every one that you gave money to, and theirs ended December, so I
So
assume they have
okay, I understand, that's good. I understand why, I guess this has to happen, because I guess the language in the original resolution specifically had a deadline. But the overall deadline with art money is, money has to be appropriated, that's already been done. But the project doesn't have to be done to 2026. I like the fact that, I guess, on June 20th, 2024, but what tangible or quantifiable thing has to be done by next June 30th in order to say the money comes back or the project's over? I mean, if they have a certain amount, if they have blueprints done, but they haven't moved any dirt, I mean, what exactly is determined that the project's not gonna be done?
Well,
'Cause they have
they've
2026.
assured us that the entire project will be done. They have the architects on board now, and that part's moving. I'm not sure if they've bid yet, but they're right at that point, and it's a small project, really. So they felt like they would probably be through like in January or February, but they were gonna need an extension either way, so they asked for June 30th.
Okay. Well, I hope we don't get it as come June 30th, they ask for another extension.
They shouldn't.
So,
And you don't have to give it if they do.
sure, I agree,
Mhm.
but if they're 89% done with it, I mean, what do we do?
No, once it goes, if they can get some bidders, it'll go fairly quick. Any other questions? If not, okay, back to the opioid money. First up, Boys and Girls Club. Denise? Get the mic.
The mission of the Boys and Girls Club is to enable all young kids, especially those who need us most, those who are at risk within our community. That's what we're here to talk about today. Within Bradley County, we serve nearly 1,500 kids through our 8 sites that are spread in the most distressed areas all across town. Many of our kids are those of incarcerated parents due to the opioid and drug crisis. We serve them daily. They've come to our clubs. We've served their parents, and now we're serving the youth each day. Many of our kids are exposed to drugs and opioids daily within their neighborhoods. They see their parents, they see the grandparents that they're living with, that have custody of them. It's all around. And these are the kids that our clubs provide services for each day. These are the most difficult of situations. No kid should see and experience the things that these kids are experiencing daily. And so for nearly 60 years, our program has educated to help prevent the generational cycle within Bradley County and provide hope in a positive future. Through using the Smart Moves curriculum, our aim is to provide this research-based program that has adapted throughout the years to meet the current need. It's up to date, it's researched, it's been effective, and we want to continue that through the coming years. Partnerships with the Bridge and the police department only strengthen our mission and strengthen the purpose of those organizations as well, and we want to prevent before it's too late. We don't want to correct once these cycles have continued in the lives of the children. So let me put a face to one of the kids that we serve each day. Angel was a teenage boy that was walking across our club site one day, and our CEO, Derek Kinsey, saw him walking. Went out, approached him, and basically just went and talked to him, started talking to him about our Johnson Teen Center and all the programs that we have to offer, and Angel reluctantly went the next day. He joined our leadership program. He ended up having the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and be a part of an advocacy program where they got to present legislation and a program that they had worked intentionally to push through. And while at the D.C. trip, he shared that that was his first time out of the state. Throughout attending in the summer, he also shared that he was vaping, he was smoking, and because of the club, he stopped. He saw that there was a bigger future. The staff encouraged him to want to be better, to want to do better, and Angel's still at our club today. And those are the kids that we want to target, the ones that are already doing these things and stop them in their tracks, and also prevent the younger ones from even starting and being exposed to this, because we know that vaping and smoking is just a gateway to just deeper things that could affect them and continue this crisis within our community. So we just humbly ask for your support, and thank you all for hearing us out.
Okay. Thank you. We'll wait till everyone's through, and then we'll see if they have questions, but thank you for that. Next up, ATS The Bridge, Sandra Welch, Community Relations Coordinator, and Jared Walter, Bridge Presenter. Welcome.
Thank you for your time today. I'm Jared Waldrop, employee of Wright Brothers Construction. I also lead our Pi Center program at the Pi Center and work with our nonprofit, ATS The Bridge, and this is Andrew Welch. Also an employee of Wright Brothers Construction, where she serves as the Community Relations Coordinator for ATS The Bridge. We are not a 501c3. That is something of note. Together, we're a team governed by a board of 10 local community leaders working the mission of ATS The Bridge. Our mission is to protect the next generation from substance misuse and to prepare them to become responsible citizens. The goal since our inception 8 years ago is to address the opioid problem in our community. ATS is the longest continuing drug prevention and awareness program in Bradley County, and where our primary focus is to bring awareness to the potential devastation created by opioid abuse. In 2016, our entire community was shaken by the drug overdose of a 16-year-old young man, and at that time, ATS The Bridge was called upon to take on the mission of prevention and awareness with the students in our community. And since that time, we've enjoyed a strong partnership with our city and county school systems with education programs in grades 3 through 12. We've developed a growing number of student ambassadors of over 100 in our local schools that help carry the ATS The Bridge message to their peers. Many of them were on display last Friday night at the Walker Valley Bradley football game. We also offer 3 $2,500 scholarships to these ambassadors upon graduation. Through our training, we've learned that education, prevention, and awareness programs should start at an even younger age. We intend to begin working in kindergarten through 2nd grade this year. Further, we are strategic partners with Goal Academy, local law enforcement, juvenile court, first responders, our school resource officers, area churches, local boys and girls clubs, and many others. Our services also include the DEA drug take-back for more than 5 years. Zandra, our community relations coordinator, serves on the advisory board of the Tennessee Alliance for Drug Endangered Children, where we're now recognized as one of only 13 communities in our state to have an alliance. And furthermore, we cooperate with the Human Trafficking and Opioid Task Force locally. Our reach and impact is significant given our limited staff and funding. We began logging attendees in 2017, and to date, the number attending our presentations is well over 70,000. Clearly, some of these have heard our presentation multiple times, but we have spoken to most students in our public school systems locally. Consider that our funding is primarily provided by Wright Brothers Construction. And we understand that you must be careful guardians and stewards of the funds entrusted to you. And additionally, we realize that you want to invest in areas with demonstrated effectiveness. Further, we know that you want to provide funding to organizations that will be good stewards as well. We believe that ATS The Bridge is such an organization. We have the personnel, the sustainability, the funding, and community recognition to carry our message deeper with greater impact to additional venues if you invest in ATS The Bridge. One test of our effectiveness is the repeated request to share our presentations to students as well as faculty in our schools. We believe that we've taken the lead on opioid prevention and education by making sure that all of our area high schoolers, faculty, and staff have heard a powerful educational presentation about the dangers of fentanyl this past school year. We're called upon many times to share our knowledge, collaborate with other agencies to educate many in our community. Other counties are recognizing our expertise and willingness to push education and prevention forward on a subject that no one wants to talk about. It's important to note that we feel that Bradley County should be a model for the state of Tennessee in the area of opioid prevention and awareness. It's important to note that the money that we would receive is not seed money, it's not startup money, it's fuel to add what we're already doing to help us take the message of prevention and awareness further and faster. We understand that it takes an entire community to get the job done. ATS has always been willing to cooperate, collaborate, and consider the expertise of other organizations to care for our entire community. Our training comes through attending national educational conferences where the latest facts, research, and drug trends are presented, as well as a strong relationship and continual training through the TBI's Dangerous Drugs Task Force. Our ability to communicate is effective in large settings like last Friday night's football game or in smaller settings such as classrooms. You see, every 5 to 7 minutes, someone in the United States loses their life to an overdose. It's not heart attacks, it's not car wrecks. It's a choice to use drugs, which equates to over 107,000 Americans losing their lives this past year. And consider this, that 6,100 students under the age of 18 every single day vape for the very first time. And a high percentage of that being THC or marijuana use. One key factor in opioid misuse is having used THC before the age of 18 in any way, shape, or form. So without continued prevention and awareness in our community based on the statistics and trends that are out there, the opioid problem will only continue to grow. ATS wants to be a community organization focused on providing help and solutions to really one of the worst epidemics in today's society. So thank you for the time to hear our case as we strive to serve the greater Cleveland and Bradley County area by making this community drug-free.
Thank you, Jared and Zandra. Next up, Foundation House Ministries, Suzanne Burns, Executive Director.
Hi, and thank you all for having us. Foundation House Ministries exists to serve mothers in crisis. We're the only maternity home in 150 miles. We're the only program of our kind that serves specifically mothers. Our mission is to meet the needs of these children by meeting the needs of mom. If we can help her, then she can help her own children. And over the 9 years that we've been open, we have served over 120 moms through housing and over 600 through both our housing and our non-residential support services. The things that we have learned over the years is that all too often, so we didn't start out to be an addiction recovery program. We didn't start out with the intention that we would become trauma experts. We didn't start out thinking that we needed to know a lot about mental health. And then the girls showed up. And so with each client, we have seen greater challenge, greater fear, greater worry, greater level of crisis. And so with each client, we have grown more and more expert. We are addiction experts because our clients need us to be. We're trauma experts because that's what she needs. What we have found over the years is that all too often, the reason that she got into drug usage in the first place was because it was the original solution to her real problem. The pain of the abuse that she suffered, the pain and the trauma of homelessness and home instability, of hunger. And for many of our clients, this is a generational situation. When we're working with mom, we're actually also working with grandma, and many times we're also working with great-grandma, who is in active addiction. And all for the sake of the child who is either here or is yet to come. Our mission is to break these cycles of addiction and of trauma and of pain, but it is a holistic and comprehensive challenge, and it is also very unique to each client. And so too many times, that is a slow process. 70% of our moms come in without a GED or high school diploma. 45% of our moms come in from active addiction. 37% come in with a jail history, and 60% come in having participated in foster care themselves at some point when they were younger. So it is a pervasive challenge. Our name, Foundation House, is it comes from Psalms 11:3. When the foundations are being destroyed, what is the righteous one doing? And it's that picture of a foundation that is crumbled. It's broken to pieces, and our mission is to come in, be a support structure through the process, remove those damaged sections, and then relay a solid foundation so that she can build a new life for herself and her children in a way that is sustainable and stable. And so I thank you for the opportunity to come and to talk with you guys today.
Thank you, Suzanne. Before you sit down, how much, I noticed they're not mentioning in the amount, how much are you requesting?
Our request was for just over 50,000, I think 50,800.
Okay.
And that would serve 6 additional mothers.
Okay, thank you. To go back to Jared, how much are you all requesting? 85, okay. And Boys and Girls Club? 30. Okay, next up, the Caring Place, Corrine Freeman.
Thank you all for allowing me to speak today and to share with you about potential partnership with the opioid funding in order to better serve our community. So as you're aware, the Caring Place, our mission is to provide the basic resources and opportunities that our neighbors need. As you've heard today, there are many different opportunities along a community of continuum of care that will help to meet the needs that the opioid epidemic has brought. We feel like that within our services of food, clothing, spiritual care, and case management, there is potential for partnership so that we can better serve those in recovery through our case management services. We currently partner with those in recovery through the recovery court and offer opportunities for them to move forward. Our case management programs are designed to help individuals who are experiencing poverty, who are experiencing instability, to build pathways to a better and more stable tomorrow. What we look at is the investigative side of that. We ask our neighbors to come through. We have a program called Getting Ahead. That program allows them in a peer-based structure to look at poverty, to look at their own situations, evaluate that on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being very unstable, to 5 being thriving. They identify the use of resources through that. Those resources are more than just the financial need. That resources include motivation, integrity, physical health, perseverance, time management, social capital, family dynamics. All of those opportunities and resources are needed for an individual to stay within recovery. You've heard today from opportunities for prevention. That's ideal. We want to make sure that we're preventing from ever starting down that path of a substance use disorder. We want to be able to have opportunities for treatment so that individuals who are experiencing or in the midst of a substance use disorder can get the help that they need. The Caring Place serves an opportunity to help them stay in recovery. Individuals who enter into recovery but do not have stability resources such as housing, social capital, connections, networking, job training, life skills, they are not able to maintain that recovery. And that's according to SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Organization. So we have partnered previously to do this, and while I don't have data on our individual who have went through Bradley County Recovery Court, their outcomes individually, we do have an 82% increase of graduates in this program have increased their income or assets. They have been able to, 85% of them actually increase their stability resources. So for the purposes being discussed today, we are looking at $100,000 for this program, which would target individuals who are residents of Bradley County, who are currently in recovery, and they would be able to offer them housing stability, so to make sure that their housing is covered is continued need within our community. We'd partner with them to develop a future story action plan, so a way that they can maintain their recovery, connecting into resources and opportunities for that. Life skill training, medical vouchers for safety net providers so that they can connect with medical and mental health resources, case management, transportation, and also employment training on site at our facility. This would look like individuals coming to on-site to working through our case management for job training opportunities, to build resume, to build skill development, and more importantly, soft skill development. A lot of what we realize when we work with individuals who are in recovery, when they start to go back out and enter into the workforce, their issue is not so much that they don't know how to put hard labor in and they don't know how to show up to work. It's more being able to interact within that workforce environment, being able to handle the stressors and the coping that is there. So by being able to offer supplemental employment training so that they can be on site with us, we provide supportive services, their case managers right there, and then we can help them to regain some of those soft skills and then to serve as a reference for them as they go out into the workforce. The county funds that we would use would not be duplicated with our other programs. This would be an opportunity to leverage and expand on current programming so that we can, again, more focus the addressing the opioid epidemic within our community. We anticipate that this would fund a small cohort. However, I do want to note that the CDC estimates the cost of the opioid epidemic for those who are experiencing instability related to a substance use disorder is $38,000 per year per individual. If we had success with all 50 of those, that would mean that you have saved the taxpayers $1.9 million. So because of those services being able to, that individual being able to move from a place of surviving to a place of thriving. I feel this partnership is a unique opportunity to help that those in recovery can maintain their recovery, increase their stability, and be a thriving member of our community. We have the stability at the organization, the processes in place, and the oversight by licensed master social workers to provide the high-quality services to meet the requirements for the funding. I really thank you for your opportunity today, for me to come and speak, and your willingness to serve our community with kindness and compassion in your role as commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Corrine. And lastly, Dream Center of Cleveland, Gene and Regina Isom.
It's good to be here. Met just about everybody we can meet. Can you hear me? I have a soft voice, but we're starting a Dream Center. We're all new. There's not one here in Bradley County, so we want to start one. And this is a recovery residence. We're going to house them, feed them, train them, educate them, and we're going to have a wonderful place. It's going to be a safe place. And it's going to be young men from ages 18 to 29. We'll start with men. Later on, we may add women in our residence. They may need more time. We want to have them for about 12 months to 18 months so that they'll have more time to recover. And it's not a 30-day project here. They need more time. Met with the judge, juvenile court judge, what's his name? Judge Painter. And I asked him, what's the process when a young man or young woman commits a crime? What is the process? And he said, well, number one, first step is we will send them to jail for about 30 days. I said, okay, what's step two? He said, step two, we're going to send them off to a rehab center in Memphis, Tennessee. I said, okay, that's great. For how long? 12 to 15 months. I said, okay, that's good. All right, what's the next step, Judge, when they come back to Bradley County? There is no third step. So we want to do that third step. We want to house them, feed them, train them, educate them, and in a safe place. Very important. What's needed? Why is the Dream Center needed? Well, we have some serious problems. This is not just a small problem here. It's not just a place where, like New York, drugs are not just in New York and San Francisco and so on. The need is here in small areas, and we're going to see to it that we do that. Our goals are that we want to do a model program where other cities and even other states may come to see what we do, because it's going to be excellent. Everything we do will be excellent, and we want to. So we want a model program. We want steady employment and a savings account. We want them to have a savings account when they leave us. We want them to continue to walk in faith and the relationship with God, and also a relationship with the community here. We're going to all the communities we can, and we're going to use them. And I'm so excited about that because it's so important to communicate with the community and be a part of them. And they're going to help us, but we're going to help them as well. Here's a quote for our residents. You alone can do this, but you can't do this alone. Regina and I we can do this, but we can't do it alone, and we need your help.
Dean gave me the job of asking for money. He thinks I'm a pro at that. But yes, and we're collaborating with all the agencies that have already been mentioned, and from the prayer all the way through. And it has been so inspiring to see the groundwork that Cleveland and Bradley County has done. We didn't know we were joining an army. We thought we would be having to provide all these services. So we've been working on collaborations with mental health and with, the health department, with law enforcement, with recovery court. And we just feel so empowered by all that. And now we feel like we can focus on our parts of this. So as far as the Tennessee opioid abatement and remediation, we are one of the core strategies of that whole program that they've given to the state, because we're going to provide comprehensive wraparound services to individuals in recovery, housing, transportation, job training, job placement. But we're doing a lot of that collaborating with others in the community, like workforce development at community college and City Fields and American Job Corps. All these places already have services ready to go. They're just waiting for us to get there. And we're also one of the approved uses for the opioid abatement. We provide that full continuum of care, of treatment and recovery for opioid use disorder and any co-occurring substance use disorder and mental health conditions, including that supportive housing again, peer support services, counseling, case management, and connections to community-based services. There's so much research out on the recovery residents and how powerful it is. And part of that power comes from young men and women when we start a women's house, to know that they're not alone in this struggle, and they learn from each other in that peer setting. And of course, we'll have other people too, the house manager, and we'll have peer recovery specialists and all those supports for them to make it. Thank you for your time. The budget's already gone, but we'd like to ask for $60,000. That's to furnish the house, set up the kitchen, and the beds, all the things that we need for that house. But we'll be happy with anything you can do to support us. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Isom. Does the commission have any questions they want to ask? Remember, we'll be sending you information that they've given us this afternoon for you to look at and study before you make decisions. Mr. Chairman, you want to call on the questioners, or?
Yes, I think we've listened to a lot of good, important people and good information. Lord knows we need to salvage these kids and these parents the best that we can. On this, I think this also needs to be transferred over to our finance committee after we finish with our questions and answers here today. Anybody have any questions? Commissioner Thompson.
Chairman, Mayor, you mentioned 501(c). These organizations have to be under that.
I don't think that's a requirement. Usually they're either are or in the process of, but it's not a requirement. Do what? Yeah, you heard what he said. The state bucket, and again, that's a much larger bucket, but the state, that will be an issue.
Okay.
They'll require it, but there's nothing in the opioid rules that make us require it, unless you all wanted to.
Thank you.
Commissioner Slater.
I have two questions, one for the Cleveland Dream Center and one for Foundation House Ministries. So I'll start with the Cleveland Dream Center. Have you secured your other funding that you will need to operate this home? Okay. Okay, thank you. And to Foundation House Ministries, you stated that you served 120 clients with in-home housing and another 600 clients over the past 9 years. Of this 720 clients that you've served, how many of those clients had an opioid addiction when they came to you? What percentage was? Thank you.
Commissioner Gilbert, please.
Which one of you, if you just raise your hands, deal with men and women? 1, 2, 3. All right, and which one of you actually work with that person's family, parents? Okay. What I was wondering. I like to see it go out further than just that person. A lot of times you go back into the community and we work on, I was a boys club kid and I played at the boys club and didn't have to get into the streets, which back when I was a kid, you got to ride to the bicycle to the boys club. But that was our babysitter. And, but I know the boys club is doing so much more, and I understand some of these other entities are doing so much more. But when you step out into you got the problem and you step into the parents and stuff and bring them into that is so much more. And when you can help one and then bring the others in and teach them, like that.
Commissioner Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 2 questions. One is for the Caring Place. I didn't get your number. How much are you requesting of funding?
100,000.
And my next question is for all 5 groups. Are any of the funding going to administrative costs, such as payroll or anything of that nature? Yours, Boys and Girls Club, is going to be administrative cost? And Mr. Chairman, I do have one last question. The Dream Center, you guys are new, right? That you guys have not started or have not, or okay. And do you have all your certifications and all of that kind of stuff, or are you still working on it? Lastly, Mr. Chairman, there's been a lot of talk about state funding and state kind of resources. I would like to know if any of you guys are applying for that, and if not, we do have Senator Lowe here today. I would like some information on the state funding and what it goes into tell, and because when the state happens, it's a whole different ball game and a different world. I don't know if we could give the senator a few minutes, if you're okay with that, just to explain the state funding to us, if you're all right with that, Mr. Chairman.
Try to limit it to 5 minutes if you could, Senator Lowe.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a privilege in Bradley County to have so many worthy organizations. To keep it brief, remember why this funding exists, because a court deemed that an industry targeted and fed communities opioids and created addiction. And the funding was a mitigation to try to get in front of that epidemic. So what's come to the states has come through that court settlement. It's coming in different waves. Everybody's still learning in real time. But about 35% of what came to the state of Tennessee is going to counties. And I think those distributions begin somewhere around February in the tune of about $31 million. So 65% is retained at the state level. The state's intention is to use most of that for incarcerated individual treatment, for expansion of Narcan and other resistance first responder training to protect themselves. In fact, I have a bill coming up in January which will increase the penalties for people who expose our law enforcement and first responders to fentanyl. And many of you know that I went to the border to see that. We have a fentanyl epidemic because we had an opioid epidemic. It fed that problem. That problem has existed because of what the pharmaceutical industry created on the opioid side. The overprescription, a big part of the state funding will go to physicians to educate them on prescription. There will be some that will go to school systems for in-school prevention training and things like that. The 35% that went to you, the counties, was to be discretionary on your part, and how that kind of filled the gaps. So the state is soliciting a lot of requests, but I feel you'll see most of that money go to those key initiatives, specifically to do those things because they're part of the mitigation strategy. And so I don't anticipate there'll be a lot of support service funding that'll come through that state grant. That's what this 35% is really for. It's for you to look at the assets that you have in the community here in Bradley County, these organizations, and decide how to use your money to mitigate these specific opioid problems that you see in Bradley County.
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, that's very telling because a lot of times you think that you'll get state funding and these people can apply, but most of the money that's going to be is for law enforcement and incarceration. So I really am thankful that all of you guys were here today. So hopefully these funds can be distributed to these organizations. God's work that you're doing. My best friend in high school died from a drug overdose, and it's hard. So I do appreciate all that you're doing. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
What do you anticipate amount of money that would come to Bradley County or to all the districts? Or you do know
how
much is that going to be? No, I mean from the money you're talking about, state money.
Your 35% is part of this distribution. So you have essentially the big pot, and that's what this allocation is that you're dealing with right now. It's not.
Commissioner Slater and then Commissioner Blake, please.
I have a follow-up question for the Boys and Girls Club based off Commissioner Rogers' questions. Thank you, Thank you, State Rep. Mr. Lowe. Of the $30,000 some odd dollars that you're requesting, how much of that is for admin cost? Is it all of it? Okay. So about half of it would be admin. All right, thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Yes,
Commissioner Blake.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've gone to a couple of the opioid conference calls and stuff like that, and everything that Senator Lowe just talked about was talked about there. They do want us to have a process, and you mentioned this, wanted us to form a committee. So far, we haven't yet done that, and I don't know if we necessarily do, but Mr. Chairman, we did receive the money. Our first allotment was wired to us. We've budgeted some of it. We've allocated some of it. For the full commission, this just came out of finance last week. $160,000 is going to Director Vicki Town and Judge Morgan for their piece of it. We put $75,000 for mental health for the first responders. So all that, I mean, and there's a couple other things budgeted. So that's why, Mr. Chairman, I would like to put this on the finance agenda for the October meeting to go over how we're going to process this. Remember, when we were dealing with the ARP money on the affordable housing, it was a learning experience for me. With some of the organizations I didn't know, and I got to know them. If you'll notice, no one ever comes up with bad ideas with requests. These are all fantastic requests. And then we have and I call it a burden, but it's a worthy burden of deciding how this, what about $170,000 is going to be allocated. I wish we had enough money to give right now. We could write the checks right here and you guys could go forth and do well, but that's not the case. We also have a concern, and it is that we're not going to get the same amount, unlike with the ARP money, we're not going to get the same amount every year. The allotment that we got this year, I believe, was about 600,000. Next year is projected to go down to 400,000. So if we got to make sure that when we appropriate the funding, if it's recurring, we've got to think 1 or 2 budgets ahead of time. So we need to do this. I hope that the time frames works with them on that. I'll work as hard as I can to get this done. But we do need to make sure we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed. It benefits both of us, so that we can answer to the state. From what I understand, Mayor, this is going to be audited quite a bit by the auditors when they come and review our documentation, and it is all about documentation. You guys know that.
It's very similar to ARP. We have to do 2 reports a year to the state opioid council.
So
just to make sure we followed their rules.
Yeah, I don't want to be a roadblock on that, but I do think that that's the process we need to go. So yeah, if you'll put that on the finance agenda, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just the foundation house, how much were y'all asking for? 50,000. And one more question to all of you. If you do not receive these funds here, will your foundation continue? And if so, will you go to other sources of funds, grants, whatever? I know I'm on the HCI committee and we do grants also. Of course, you have to be 501(c)(3), but I'm just hoping that just because we might not be able to fund you here, that these programs stop. And I'm hopefully sure that they don't. Thank you.
Anyone else? I believe we covered the waterfront.
There's no other questions. I appreciate your time. I know this was time consuming, but it's very important. As someone said, we have lots of programs in Bradley County, more than most communities. But if you've had anyone in any of these situations, we're not winning the battle, I can tell you that. So all we can do is all we can do sometimes, but we need to do all we can do. This is a battle that will affect everyone at some point, I almost guarantee you. So we appreciate everyone being here today and doing this, and I ask you respectfully to put some serious thought into it. They all could use the money, but we don't have enough for all of them unless you want to. I mean, you could split it however you all decide, but they're asking for more than we have is what I'm saying. But there is a need out there. We all know that. And we need to do all we can to address that need the best we can. The state is going to be granting that money out. Sounds like they're going to be applying for their own grants based on the senator, but they're supposed to be granting that money out to organizations, and I hope they fulfill that because that's what the Opioid Council said they would do. And those grants are available in October. So thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. And again, thank all of you for an informative discussion. The next item will be reports from the committees and or districts. We'll go to our right, Commissioner Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to pass on today.
Thank you. Commissioner Alford.
Seconds, doing well, thank you.
Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to add to that, tonight, as you know, it's on the schedule. We're going to be meeting with the County Commissioners Association, David O'Connor and Charlie Curtis. You can well bet we'll be chatting with them about the state granting because they have a lot to say about that in Nashville. I think the other thing I have is on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Collins.
All's well in the third, thank you.
Commissioner Winters.
All's well in the seventh.
Commissioner Gilbert.
I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Thompson.
Mr. Chairman, I have a young lady here, Mrs. Green, Anita Green, would like to speak to the commission. She represents the Daughters of Revolution, and she's got her well-known husband with her there. We welcome them being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. I watched everybody else shake, so y'all can watch me shake today now. My name is Anita Green. I'm the regent of the Chestuie chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and you might hear it called the DAR. With growth and interest, Bradley County welcomed a second chapter of the DAR in 2018, and we are known as Chestuie. The DAR is a civic organization formed in 1890 by Revolutionary War soldiers and daughters, focusing on God, home, and country, working to promote education, patriotism, and historic preservation. Annually, there are historic and patriotic events we promote, such as Flag Day in June, Native American History in November, and Constitution Week in September. Constitution Week has been declared Public Law 915 and guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September the 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. This historic celebration begins with the ringing of the bells in churches, schools, and individual homes to announce the signing of the Constitution as they did in 1787. On Sunday, the 17th at 3 p.m., Pastor K. Wood and members of the Macedonia Baptist Church on Spring Place Road will be hosting the Chestuie and SDAR for our chapter's second annual bell ringing ceremony. And as regent, I'd like to extend a special invitation to each of you to join with Bradley County constituents from all districts as we open this celebration. Today we have proclamations from the City of Cleveland signed by Mayor Kevin Brooks, from Bradley County signed by Mayor Gary Davis, along with a proclamation from the State of Tennessee Speaker of the House of Representatives signed by Kevin Raper. And on the 17th, the program will conclude around 3:30 with the ringing of multiple bells. Macedonia has a bell tower, and we will be ringing their large bell, but also multiple bells, sounding a reminder of the signing of this document that has guided our nation for more than 200 years. Our next patriotic event will be commemorating the 125th anniversary of the Spanish-American War by honoring those veterans. We are confident there are multiple from Bradley County who have served in this arena. Nonetheless, we have identified 8 graves in our own Fort Hill Historic Cemetery that note their service on their gravestones. And the Chestuie chapter has worked to clean around the graves and restore their stones to readable condition in anticipation for a special ceremony in late October to honor their service. Not only do we honor our deceased veterans from every war, we also focus on honoring those still living. Members of the DAR make up blankets, bibs, wheelchair pockets, memory quilts for those in our local nursing homes, as well as our new veterans home, which we're excited to be involved with. We're proud to be a part of Bradley County as a productive civic group, saying thank you to those who have served for our freedoms. In 2021, we completed the restoration of a long-lost, forgotten cemetery off of Moore Road, the McKinney Cemetery. There were 3 graves with headstones: Joseph Stanfield, who fought in the war between the states, his wife Nancy, who died in 1895, and another soldier, a veteran of the Mexican War. We were able to locate an additional 20 graves, and we purchased stones to place at the head of each to mark their final resting places. Many man-hours have been put into cleaning, clearing, marking, restoring, and maintaining this cemetery. Currently, we are working to restore the Carr family cemetery just off of Georgetown near the Lenox subdivision. The new road going through there opened the way to locating this family plot before it could be destroyed by progress. In November, we will begin reclaiming and restoring the McCarty Cemetery just down the road from the Walker Valley School. The latest known grave there was created in 1910, 113 years ago. We're very aware of our history is not preserved. It will be forgotten, along with the lessons learned from our founding fathers. Again, let me share an invitation to each of you to attend the bell ringing ceremony at Macedonia Baptist Church this coming Sunday at 3 in support and recognition of the greatest document ever created. I hope to see many of you there, and I thank you for your time today. No money. Just wanted to invite you to the bell ringing.
Go ahead, Commissioner Tom.
Anita, we appreciate you being here today, and I know for a fact that she works hard. I followed her on this, and she works hard, and they went on long trips and everything else that represents the Daughters of Revolution. I appreciate you very much for the work that you do.
Is that it? Okay, Commissioner Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report today.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Chairman. Nothing to report. 6 districts doing well, but I would like to extend our condolences to the Herbert Connolly family. Herbert was part of our jail ministries for years. He was definitely a man of God, and he always had a smile on his face. And let's just remember that family today. Thank you. That's all I have.
I would like to say that for those who spoke earlier, we welcome, it's a rarity that we have an abundance of people here for a meeting. You're welcome to leave after you, if you'd like, but we'd prefer you stay to listen. All right, Commissioner Ledford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's already been mentioned to remember 9/11, great tragedy. So let's remember that. Had a couple of committee meetings last week, Thursday. HCI committee, which some of you folks can apply for these grants through the HCI, which is the Healthier Community Initiative Program. In that committee meeting, I was on that committee for many, many years, and I resigned and give my spot to George Gray. I think he'll be a great asset to that. We have Scott Oliver, Chuck Hammonds, I think, and Dr. Paul McCord is a part of that, Lisa Stansberry. I think that's a great organization. We've seen a lot over my 15-plus years on that committee, a lot of grants, walking tracks, different things of that nature completed and done. I think we got $120,000, is that correct? And then the next item, we had an SPCA meeting. I'll have to pull this up on my phone last week, and I want to give a small report on that, if I may. We have, in animal care, we have 76 animals at the adoption center, 41 in foster. This center can provide humane housing for 18 large dogs, with 50 dogs at the center and 16 dogs currently living in pop-up crates. We are at a critical capacity. The Cleveland Daily Banner ran a guest editorial August the 31st by Tom Purcell stating animal shelter across America are overflowing with abandoned dogs and cats due to people returning to work after COVID, inflation, and high number of abandoned dogs have health issues. We want to give many thanks to ServPro, which provided a hazmat cleanup in the attic for half the total cost. I think they had some rat infestation or something of that nature. I'm not sure exactly what it was. Adoption event this weekend, September the 15th, 16th at the center at no cost to the public, thanks to Best Friends. Currently in need of bed linens and large dog toys. That's all of that report. Got a couple of emails, and I think we all did last week about some certain dogs, and I think we had one gentleman that had a dog that wandered onto his property, took it to the animal shelter, and they wouldn't take it. Remember, that animal shelter can only take so many animals safely. They can't, it's more of an abuse to pile 3 or 4 or 5 dogs on top of each other than it would be just to leave them where they're at. I know that there was some things in that email that wasn't pleasing to some of us, but there's a reason for that. Melissa's a great leader there. She's the director of the services, and I think she does a good job. And other than that, Mr. Chairman, that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rogers.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
We have a building way up.
I was gonna.
Meeting, everybody bring a gift. We host that, so don't leave us bring the gift by ourselves. Everybody bring one.
I'll excuse me. I will announce that building and lands again in a few minutes at the end. But we can now go to the agenda item A, Thrive, Commissioner Ryan Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have some representatives from the Thrive organization, which we put into our budget. Their director, Ms. Massengill, is here with her staff. Ms. Massengill holds a master's degree in public administration with a planning and development concentration from East Tennessee State University, and a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. She previously served as executive director of Johnson City Development Authority in northern Tennessee, leading a successful effort to reshape the downtown brand in an attractive, desirable place. Prior to that, she served 5 years as a legislative budget analyst specialist for both the House and the Senate for the Tennessee General Assembly. Mr. Chairman, if you would, please recognize Ms. Massengill. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Please, Ms. Massengill.
Ms. Massengill. I'm Connie Vaughn with McKee Foods, but I wanted to introduce Bridget to you and just tell you all I chair the Thrive Regional Partnership, and I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you to Mayor Davis. He's been a longtime supporter of the Thrive Regional Partnership, originally called Thrive 2055, and he was one of those early leaders that recognized that our region needs to work together. And so he's been such a great supporter of ours, and so I want to say thank you, and thank you to Commissioner Blake for the time today for Bridget to give you a presentation. McKee Foods has been involved with Thrive from the early days, and we are so pleased with the work that's happening. I live in Bradley County. Chairman Cry is my commissioner, and we are just so thrilled for the work and the partnership and the great things that are happening with the Thrive Regional Partnership. So I'm grateful that you all have given Bridget the time so you can learn for yourself all these wonderful things that we're doing in Bradley County. But thank you, and I just wanted to acknowledge Mayor Davis for his great work and support for our organization through the years. So thank you for that.
And I also want to recognize Mike Griffin that is here with us. He serves as one of our trustees on our board and has been an incredible voice for Bradley County all throughout the time that he has been with your chamber here. And I also have with me today Shannon Millsaps, who is the program director, senior program director for our transportation infrastructure. And when you get into some specific questions, which I'm sure you will, and I welcome them, I may call her up because she is deep into that work, and I know it's important to you all. I would love to just kind of start with just basic, most general, who is Thrive and what have we been doing? And then I want to give you some high-level kind of snapshot of some of the work that's been happening really most recently over the last year. But our organization, you see there our footprint, and we are an organization that is established to inspire responsible growth through conversation, connection, and collaboration in the tri-state Chattanooga region. So our 16-county footprint, you'll see here on this slide, it includes the 9 counties here in southeast Tennessee, also 5 counties across northwest Georgia. It lost, yeah, there it goes, all the way to Murray County, so just right below where we are today, and then 2 counties in northeast Alabama. And what we do is we are really working to ensure that as this region grows in industry, prosperity, and population, that we are also preserving community and natural character for generations to come. I want you all to know, as commissioners of Bradley County, an absolutely astounding, beautiful place in this region, that there's an organization that's waking up every day and thinking about when industry grows, when our prosperity continues to blossom and grow across this region, that we want to ensure that the things that you and your families, your loved ones, your children and their children are going to love about the place that you call home as well. We do that in these 3 primary areas. We focus on community prosperity, the work that we do to help our communities to truly thrive in the things that make you and you unique. We also do that in the preservation and really supporting our communities around the outdoor assets, knowing that there is an abundance of people across the region and across the country that are coming into this part of the region, heading out to the Ocoee, going out and exploring the beautiful places of our region. How do we protect that, and how do we make sure that the communities are ready for those things as they come? And then the one I really wanted to focus on with you today to provide you all with an update is around our transportation and infrastructure. Were it not for Thrive, there is no organization that is thinking about the fact that we are sitting on 2 other state lines while we have congestion and traffic and an abundance of freight movement coming through this region. We know that freight moves our economy, but we also know that we need to be incredibly thoughtful in how that happens and how that moves, and we're working together. And I'll talk about that in some really critical ways that Bradley County is at the forefront of that work as well. Also included in infrastructure that I will touch on is our very strong focus on broadband connectivity, which we know is important very much here. So I want to start with just a recap of some information. So our organization was a part of others, only 3 other parts across the nation, who were selected by the Federal Highway Administration a few years ago to be a part of what is called the National Economic Partnerships Program. That was a Federal Highway Administration program. And one of the things, and the sole reason, was because of the movement of freight that comes through this region and how we might address it. And so as we got into that study, I'm going to give you a quick snapshot just to help articulate why freight is important to our work and why we are focusing so much time on it here in the region. So what you're looking at, they asked us in that study to take a zoom out and take a look at all of the corridors that are coming through this region, coming out of Atlanta, down there in the bottom right. I guess that would be your southeast. Also Birmingham, then Nashville, and Knoxville. And what you're looking at with that red line is the volume of truck traffic on our roads that is over 7,500 plus trucks a day. So if I back up for a minute, we discovered through our process several years ago that where it's the dark red right there where everything kind of bottlenecks, where 75 hits 24 and around heading to Nashville, that we have the highest volume of freight through traffic than any metropolitan area in the country, which means we're not talking about the trucks that are delivering here to our local industry. We're talking about the trucks that are moving through the region and beyond. So knowing what you know, whenever you might be leaving here and heading to Nashville, look around, see the trucks. That's what it looks like right now. Partnering with our DOTs across TDOT, GDOT, and ALDOT in their travel demand models. This is the projection for 2040. So again, if you're thinking about the volume of trucks that are coming through, absolutely coming up and through 75 all the way to Knoxville, all the way from Knoxville to Nashville, down from Nashville to Chattanooga, and then on down to Atlanta. So Thrive as an organization, as your organization that is here to serve this region, does not take data like this and say, good luck with that. We hope that you guys have fun trying to solve that, because there is no organization out there that is convening our 3 Department of Transportations, nor our metropolitan planning organizations I'm going to share with you in a minute. So keep that picture in mind. When you see a picture of the congestion coming through the area, it's always funny to me because I can call out immediately that this isn't the Chattanooga region, because there will be just cars and you'll know that's not our region, because ours is heavily the truck traffic. This also proves that. So what you're looking at on this map is congested corridors that is more of the cars. So there is that outline of the congested corridors between 2018 to 2040 that shows when you go back and see that 75 going up to Knoxville, it's not quite as red because we have now interspersed into that the car traffic in addition. So it's not so much the commuters as it is the freight. That is our heavy congested 7,500 plus per day on those corridors. So it gives us a starting point. We absolutely need to start looking at how might we address that. So we have I mentioned 3 Department of Transportations, of course, that are looking at that connectivity coming in from Alabama, from Georgia, and also here in Tennessee. And then in addition, here you have the Cleveland Bradley Metropolitan Planning Organization that is the one that is looking at all of those incredible, important projects that need to be elevated to the state level. There's also the Hamilton County Chattanooga Metropolitan Area organization that connects directly with the Bradley County. And then down to the southeast is the Dalton Metropolitan Planning Organization. If you think about Atlanta for one picture, Atlanta has one metropolitan planning organization that is looking at their multi-county footprint of traffic moving through. We have 3. In addition to what is serviced through our development districts, the regional planning organizations as well, the RPOs. So the RPOs are also, if it isn't in a light gray kind of shaded area there, then all those parts are served by the RPO, which as they will tell you, is sometimes much harder for their projects to get elevated because they're rural areas. But we know sometimes the solution, in fact, we're sure that oftentimes the solution that's going to keep things out of the critical corridors of where we're sitting now and through Chattanooga and down to Dalton could very well lie within those rural areas. In fact, you all are familiar with the Appalachian Regional Port right down the road. That is in a rural area, but it is a way to keep freight. Georgia ran that one because it was a way to keep freight out of Atlanta on the rail to get it from the Savannah port right into here. And then our region, our tri-state region, is left to pay attention and watch the freight that's coming in and off that port. So how do we do that? As we got through with that study, I love this quote because we worked very closely with TDOT on this. This is where we're conducting partner engagement. TDOT has seen the importance of each organization getting out of their respective silos to work together to develop solutions. Part of those solutions you'll see on here is one of those direct recommendations that came from the Federal Highway Administration. And the part I want to note is over here on the left-hand side. And it specifically called attention to our organization to identify projects that may benefit from a mega-regional approach due to multi-regional benefits and the need for continued multi-regional coordination and collaboration, which is absolutely in our mission statement, to provide projects that provide significant benefits to more than one state. So who's going to do that, and how are we going to do that? So our organization has continued to convene all of our partners. In fact, if you were ever at one of your MPO meetings here, you'll see Shannon Millsaps, who comes each time they meet to update you on what's happening. And one of those things is our portal. So if we're going to work with this region and all of our metropolitan planning organizations and our state governments over the last year, a year and a half, we were able to develop this geospatial gateway to transportation and freight data. So the data that you saw didn't have an ongoing maintenance process behind it. It's just, here it is, and now it's going to take somebody all the time to continue convening and gathering all of that information. So we created the Thrive Regional Infrastructure Portal. And what does it do? So this is the part that Bradley County has been a tremendous partner in and is elevating the work on enormous stages through our partnership with the Cleveland State Community College team here. So what we've been able to do in partnership, we were actually putting out an RFP to look for data support to help build this map. So Georgia Institute of Technology, Georgia Tech, amazing program. They're known nationally, if not globally, for their research arm. They already had a very strong logistics supply chain program. They came back with a great, we can help you build this out. But so did your college right here, Cleveland State Community College. And I want to just really brag on them for a minute and help you to see exactly how we created this partnership. So truly, it was as simple as us going to, privately funded, by the way, the portal itself, completely privately funded. So we were able to go to the private funder and ask the question, hey, we just got an incredible RFP from Georgia Tech, but we also got one from Cleveland State. Would you be open to not just an either or, but an and? Because it was important to thrive. It will always be important to thrive, that we have things right back here in the region and accessible to the region, as well as accessible to our students that are here to begin to learn processes that are going to get them into jobs and the workforce connectivity as they move forward. And so they said absolutely yes. And as a result, there's a really incredible partnership that is first of its kind. This portal is amazing, and we've heard this from partners on a national scale as well, a federal scale, that this is an incredible opportunity. Appalachian Regional Commission is also investing in this now so that we can help local communities understand how to use it, because we have to all be able to use this portal, even if you have a metropolitan planning organization or if you do not. How we all use it are going to help each other collaborate and connect so that we can create some solutions to the problems that we're seeing across the region. This is just a screenshot of the portal. I'm going to encourage you guys to take a look at that, and I'm going to make sure that we leave behind information for you to access. At the end of the day, this is our opportunity to empower freight-dependent communities through interactive maps, through data dashboards, through story maps, things that are going to help us know what data we have that can help our local governments and Bradley County and other governments here in this region make smart decisions based on data-driven decisions, and we are compiling that and maintaining that on an ongoing basis. So let's talk about this partnership with Cleveland State. So Cleveland State has now created a logistics and supply chain management program as a result of this work. It launched in the fall of 2022. It's an accelerated cohort format with in-person or online options. And the course was created using the funds that we were able to provide for this opportunity. The cool thing about it is there is now a capstone course that is under construction for this fall. Thrive and our partners, so we are working with logistics companies as well as local governments across this region. We'll be looking at those capstone projects that come out of the students right here in Bradley County. We know that sometimes students can have the best ideas for how to proceed forward with things, so we're really excited about that partnership moving forward and how this portal will be integrated into the coursework for student projects. I wanted to include this quote from Georgia Tech, who said, "This is a terrific curriculum." They took a look at it and they said, "I think this is the best blending I have ever seen for what industry needs: analytics, math background, core skills, experiential, supply chain domains, etc." So kudos to the team right here in Bradley County at Cleveland State Community College for creating an absolute state-of-the-art program that is going to really help students here. That is a scan code that we can send out that's going to allow you the access to dig into it. I want to tell you, first and foremost, that our next step with this trip is to now begin analyzing the data and working with our local communities on identifying those projects. Where are the pinch point areas that we can work towards solving? We had to create the portal. We now have a team here at Cleveland State that's working with the portal. We now have a staff person on hand that has been hired through that support with the Appalachian Regional Commission dollars in order to help us build out a program so that now, working with that team, we can begin to identify projects and policies that must change in order for us to move and be able to move our freight efficiently through the region. That's a very important part of the work that we're doing, and we're very excited about that. The next thing, I'll touch on this much more quickly, and that is around our Regional Broadband Alliance. So our guiding principle with this is knowing that connectivity is essential infrastructure as our digital literacy and equity efforts across this region. And we know that Bradley County is right in the hot spot of needing that helping to advance our connectivity through this region. I want to talk about a couple of ways that we're doing that. So the digital divide, we're going to talk about that for a second. 40% of American adults in homes making less than $30,000 per year have no home broadband service, tablet, laptop, or desktop computer. Nearly 25% have no smartphone, and 27% are smartphone-only internet users. So let me talk about the ACP and what we've been doing here. This is a program that was established in 2021. This is where, as you can see what's on this slide, it does not matter to Thrive. It does a little bit, but it does not matter who your internet provider is. We just want to start tackling the low-hanging fruit of helping those who have access at home be able to afford it. How can we do that? So we have been working across this region with organizations. We had our launch event here at Cleveland State to help individuals and organizations that have frontline access two people that could actually tap into this source. As long as there is federal dollars available for people to access their broadband, if you are eligible, and here's those program benefits, you can get up to $30 a month off of your internet. And this is for their eligibility program, which can be life-changing. We've worked across this region and with different organizations who might have students at home that did not have internet because they could not afford it. We're able to help work with them on that. One thing I love about it that's not on here is the ACP eligibility is extended to all families with students that are attending community eligibility provision schools. Bradley County has 8 CEP schools currently. So this is an incredible opportunity to start by making sure that those that have the broadband can actually get the broadband. There is estimated 14,000 families here that are eligible. In January, 7,400 of them were enrolled in ACP, and by July, just only over 9,200 are enrolled. So there's still 4,800 residents in Bradley County that remain eligible to access this benefit to receive that affordable internet at home. So I want to also note, before I kind of end on that, Thrive is also a founding member of the State Digital Opportunity Task Force. Shannon Millsap has been involved with the Tennessee State Digital Opportunity Task Force from the very beginning. We are also involved with all 3 states, so Alabama and Georgia as well. And our role is to help elevate that work on a much larger platform so that anytime we can help carry the message that we are hearing across this region and right here in Bradley County, we want to help work and advocate on your behalf for the things that need to happen here locally. These are just an idea of what, in a snapshot, some of those strategies on how we are sharing those benefits. We are attracting national funding. We are measuring and monitoring regional growth progress. We are also using that science and data to help provide strong, solid digital and freight data that can help us with the things that need to happen here locally. And we do this by inviting residents, business, and industry, government, and civic leaders from across the region to the table. I want to point out that on November 1 and 2, we're hosting a tri-state summit. That is going to be an opportunity where we are going to have freight panels. Cleveland State and Georgia Tech are going to be on a panel together talking about this partnership that they've created, while we'll also have a metropolitan planning organization talking about how the data that they're using is helping with economic development efforts. It isn't even just the movement of freight. They are able to go in and provide data to industry that's looking to locate, which you can use here as well, that helps make good decisions on those industries that are moving in and looking to locate in your region. We're also going to have the Tennessee State Broadband Office there speaking alongside of their partners in the other states. And we're also going to have a digital equity workshop right there that's going to be run by the Tennessee State Digital Broadband Office as well as the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. And they are going to be running that for everyone that attends as well. So that's an idea of what that's going to be. I will tell you that we have an invitation out to Federal Co-Chair Gail Manchin from the Appalachian Regional Commission to attend. She is very interested in coming because she wants to meet with leaders in this region who are working together to solve these issues. We have had their leadership speak at our events around our freight and the trip data and asked the question, who else out there in the nation is doing work like this? And they said, no, you all are at the head of the stage, at the head of the game on this. And so they want to come here and learn from us. So as soon as that happens, if we get her, we will be making that announcement as well. But there will be a lot of things to come from that. So I would encourage you to take a look at our website that fell off the bottom there, thriveregion.org. And we can send that out to you all as well so that you can get that information. I do want to back up because we do have Connie here as well. This quote by Mike McKee, our family business is blessed to have such deep roots in a region where thoughtful infrastructure investment is being made while maintaining a key eye on livability and workability for our employees and surrounding communities. And I know that you all know that you could probably throw a stick, and you were in Bradley County next to that McKee. They are using a lot. They have a lot of employees such as Connie who are working at their company here, and the workforce across this region continues to thrive as we work together to truly provide opportunities for the residents here in Bradley County and beyond. So with that, I welcome any questions, and thank you for this opportunity to update you. Thank you for this opportunity to thank you for the investment Bradley County is making in this work. We can't
Are there
do
any
it.
questions, please?
Hey, what was that percentage on the phone usage? The smartphone usage and the tablets and stuff like that?
Go back to it. $25% have no smartphone.
25%
Mm-hmm.
use smartphones?
Have no smartphone.
No decimals.
27% are smartphone only internet.
Is there anyone else? Mr. Blake.
Well, first of all, thank you for your presentation. Very informative. The issue that I see we have with internet and broadband specifically is now there's plenty of money, so to speak. I mean, the state and here in Bradley County, we've allocated the federal government as well. So now the problem is not necessarily the funding piece of it, which is usually the problem. It's now that the ISPs, the internet service providers, are mapping out their little territories, and they're not playing fair, in my opinion. How do you guys address that? That we have one ISP that says, I've got from road here to road here, and another ISP is like, I'm not going to, but the one that has this territory here will only do a certain part within their territory. Because I can almost guarantee most people could care less what ISP they have or it's offering. They just want high-speed internet. So this territorial thing with the internet providers is a big problem. And it's not just us. When I talk to the other commissioners, they got the same thing in other counties.
And if I will ask Shannon to come up on this because I could say this wrong, but if I understand this correctly, the reason that they aren't, one of the reasons is because they don't have the fiber run, and it costs too much to run that fiber, right? So in order to access dollars to lay public infrastructure lines, that could potentially be a way for it to be accessible. Do you have any?
Well, that part I understand. I mean, it is very expensive. When we're looking at the cost, fiber costs, I think $40,000 a mile is what you told us the other day, right? Well, in Rotary, whatever. It is expensive, but they've secured plenty of funding. It's the territorial piece that is, problem where, like I said, they will go from like exit 20 to exit 25, and that's my territory, and another ISP won't go into their territory. It's that they kind of have the quote unquote quasi benefit of being a utility without being a utility. And that's what I think that the state level, well, Senator Lowe's gone, but at the state level or whatever level, they need to address that and say, we don't care if it's company A or company B, as long as they have a plan to get out there, or make it a utility, which I know that's a whole different ballgame. But, I mean, that's the issue that I hope that you guys and everybody else can, when you're talking to general assemblies, either down in Atlanta or Nashville or whatever, say, cut it out. I understand your profits and all that kind of stuff, but it's not getting broadband out to the people.
That's part of what I would argue is the value of Thrive, being at the table for these conversations and convening these conversations. Our Regional Broadband Alliance meets quarterly. I would encourage each of you not only to be a part of that and plugged in, but that's an opportunity where we're bringing together internet service providers with government leaders, with those state broadband officials to have these exact conversations. Because ultimately what happened, still here. You're exactly right. We need to be elevating what's happening at the local level to those state officials, and there's a lot of regulatory barriers that are currently in place that I think that we can help inform, but those conversations have to happen around a common table, and right now that's not happening. It's all competition instead of what you would consider co-opetition or any form of collaboration. I will say, though, that there is hope on the horizon. At the most recent Digital Opportunity Task Force Summit in Nashville a few weeks ago, there were multiple internet service providers in the room, both your local co-ops and local ISPs, along with the big guys. And you're exactly right as well that there is enough money for deployment. When you look at those BEAD dollars, the money that the state of Tennessee has is enough money to connect every household, every home, every school, every work with internet. Might not be fiber, but it is going to be reliable, high-speed internet. And ultimately for us, we want to make sure that as those state offices are making those decisions and awarding communities with dollars to bridge the gap, that those are happening in the places most. And we are also convening those conversations with ISP to help some of that competitive nature and understanding that ultimately we all have the same common goal of connecting. So you're right, it doesn't matter if it's A or B, although ultimately what we're learning from consumers is they want to partner with their local ISP. They get better service. If there's an infrastructure issue, it gets solved quicker. So there's absolutely value lifting up, leveraging, and helping pave the way for your local ISP. And I'll say Bradley County is ahead of the game for a lot of our other counties that you are a broadband ready, have as a commission taken the steps to take to say we are going to make this easy for folks from an ISP perspective to get things done. But you're exactly right.
Right, so I'll finish with this. Some of my fellow commissioners live in districts that it is in like pulling teeth to get, I lose my voice, the ISPs to recognize the value in putting out, obviously the money. I mean, they're going to spend X amount of dollars, millions if it's the case, for 80 homes. You do the math, 80 homes times whatever the monthly rate is. I mean, you can do the math, and it's not cost prohibitive. I mean, or it is cost prohibitive. But what we just found out here in the last couple of months is we got a report from one of the, is that they got the broadband out, they got the fiber laid out, they started offering subscriptions, and then along comes the competition, so to speak. Now, they've waited for 5 years that they could have invested money in there, but they didn't. But now that somebody else is going after their customer base, then they jump in. I mean, all that to say is our legislative bodies, years ago, the lobbyist up there won the day, and they basically took the responsibility from the counties, and now it's a state thing. Well, now the state needs to step up and do the right thing. That's all. You don't. I don't need to prolong that, but I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I just want to add one comment to this, and you'll have to understand, try to be a very direct person. I have no sympathy for these people because it's all federal money that they got in grants. And the fact that they can't spend a little bit of federal money to help our citizens, it's their problem. And it needs to be corrected because it's taxpayer money. They like he said, they put a line down a road and they don't let anybody connect to it. That's a bunch of bull. But thank you. Is that all? Good. Is that all, Commissioner Blake? Commissioner, then we'll go to number B, agenda item B, Commissioner Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution to rezone from Forestry Agricultural Residential District to General Commercial C2 District. Property located at Harrison Pike and identified by tax map 40, parcel 124. These can be seen on pages 3 and 4. The Planning Commission did not recommend the approval of this due to traffic issues there. It was a danger. And then I'm going to kind of move on. If I'd like to add that to the agenda, item C, I would like to pull.
Okay, you're going to let B go to the agenda, and it's a negative recommendation from the Planning Commission, and item C, you're going to pull.
That's correct.
Approved. Okay. We'll now go to communication from the audience. I'll be glad to recognize anyone. You have 5 minutes. Is there anyone like to talk? We've had a lot of people talk today. All right. We'll now go to announcements. Let me find all these announcements here. TCCA regional meeting tonight, and Howard says bring a gift. I don't know what he's talking about. 5:30 at the Elks Lodge. Building and Land Committee, September the 12th at 10:30 a.m. here in the Commission Room. Board of Education meeting, September the 14th at 5:30 p.m. at the Central Office. Tire Take Back, September the 16th, 8 a.m. to noon at the Sheriff's Office.